This is Football at 4.
Josh Reddick filling for Mike Gill here on the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN. Football at 4, powered by the Inside the Birds podcast, co-hosted by Adam Caplan and Jeff Mosher. Of course, each and every week, download and subscribe wherever you get your podcast, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and don't forget about Inside the Birds on YouTube as well. Adam Caplan is back here to get into more details about the latest with the Eagles. Adam, how you doing on this Tuesday?
Josh, I'm well. Hope you're doing well. And yeah, we're rolling here. The second week of free agency, things have really slowed down as usual. It's always the same. The first couple days are super intense. Just about all the top names are gone. There's some veterans, clearly, at the various positions on offense and defense. Guys are late 20s, early 30s, coming off injury, or just they're winding down their career, and that's why they're out there. But pretty much overall, there are bargains to be had.
Well, one guy that we're still waiting to hear news about, Adam, officially, is Haason Reddick. But we got a little interesting tidbit today with them moving the roster bonus. So talk about why the Eagles did that and what do you think that means for the Birds moving forward?
All right, so it was, I think, reported by ESPN. So, yeah, here's my understanding. This was done last week, and the news just broke today, or overnight, whenever it came out. But so the language in the contract said, player will earn a $1 million roster bonus on the third day of the league year. The third day of the league year was on Friday, the 15th. Typically, roster bonuses, the Eagles they do more what are called option bonuses. They're sort of inside contract signing bonuses, and they prorate the bonus number. That's why they lower the cap hit per year. Whereas the roster bonus strictly is earned on a particular day. It's almost always first day, third day, or almost the most popular is the fifth day. The Eagles did the third day, nevertheless. So they moved to April 1st, and that gives them time to be able to trade Haason Reddick, if they can. They've had talks with other teams. The belief around the league is that the Eagles want more of the second-round pick. That's what I was told a couple weeks ago. I don't think much has changed there. Look, the reason why you move the date, the roster bonus date, is I know it's only $1 million. It's one thing if it's $100,000. I don't think the Eagles would care. $1 million is enough for them to move it, and that's why they did it. Now, Josh, if I don't want to say a miracle, but if somehow he's still on the roster, it doesn't mean he can't be traded during the draft. Remember, A.J. Brown was acquired from the Titans during the draft. So, again, the loose deadline, if you wouldn't even want to call it that, would be before the roster bonus becomes due again. And also, one more thing to add, and this is very important, the club can not arbitrarily move the bonus. The player has to agree to it, and he did because he wants to get paid. Though Haason has made it clear he doesn't want to leave the Eagles, he wants to get paid, and to do that, to get the contract he wants, he's going to have to move.
Well, either way, we know that the edge rushing group is getting a makeover. They bring in Bryce Huff. We know Josh Sweat is going to be back at least for the short term. So what is your perspective, Adam, then on the Eagles' pass rush?
Yeah, so someone asked if this is a good question or made the point about, if they move Reddick or as is, because Sweat's on that one-year deal, will they use a first-round pick on an edge rusher? And the question is absolutely, because when you look at it, Josh, Sweat is on a restructured one-year deal where he took a significant pay cut. He lost $6 million, still making $10 million. That's a lot, but he did not play well. And by the way, our latest Greg Cosell show, it's going inside free agency. All of the Eagles moves that were important. Plus, we went around the division, and we also went over a bunch of other teams. You could get that whenever you want. We just loaded it up today at 11 a.m. That's on every podcast platform and also YouTube. So we did talk to Greg about Bryce Huff. Bryce Huff, the future, the immediate future, at least for the next 2 years, he's got a 3-year deal, but I'm told it's more of a 2-year structure. It really past the season, Josh, it's just Bryce Huff. Because Reddick's on the last year of his deal, even if they don't trade him, this most likely will be his last year with them. Josh Sweat, unless he plays lights out, won't be back with them after the season. He's got to play really well. And Nolan Smith barely played, Josh. So, yeah, edge rusher to me it's an absolute need. If you and I were debating what are the top needs, it's in my top 2, to be honest with you. The draft is always about the future, folks. It's not about the season.
Absolutely. Adam, speaking on the defense, Inside linebacker. Obviously, they have added White. They already have Nakobe Dean in the house. What is your perspective on the Eagles linebacker situation moving forward?
All right, the way that I see it, Josh, now again, I know things could change. I know our Andrew DeCecco reported that Dean, he was in the locker room when Nakobe spoke, and Andrew was able to find out that Dean said he'd be good to go for the offseason workouts. So that means unless he has a setback, he should be on the field. He may be limited, but at least he should be on the field in mid-April when the returning staffs can start working with the players. Devin White obviously is going to start unless he just doesn't look good in training camp. Now, Greg told us today on our show that Zach Bond, he could play stack linebacker, which is an off-the-ball linebacker, but he was an edge rusher in college, and he hasn't really played inside linebacker much at this level. Now, what I was told is he's going to play inside and outside. We'll see. He's no lock to make the team. Owen Burks, the Eagles signed here to a one-year deal. And, of course, Ben Van Sumeren, who's back as mostly special teams player, did have one start and was really good against the Giants. So here we go again, Josh. Bond, one-year deal. Burks, one-year deal. White, one-year deal. The future, other than Dean, who now is in the third year of his four-year rookie deal, and he's been mostly hurt his first 2 years, this is another position. Not saying they're going to draft it early, but, Josh, they need to address this position also down the line. This is once again a patchwork position. But I'll say this much. If you're going to take a chance on a one-year player, it would be Devin White, and we talk about this today with Greg. Burks is a guy. You wait to hear what Greg says about him if you listen to that show. And you mentioned Bond and Van Sumeren. So, look, they can line up today. They absolutely can line up today. Now, how good they're going to be that position remains to be seen.
Absolutely. Adam Caplan, NFL Insider, joining us for Football at 4, powered by the Inside the Birds podcast, InsideTheBirds.com, at Caplan NFL on the Twitter X platform. Another position that still needs to be addressed is cornerback, not just because of Bradbury and Slay's age, Adam, but because who's even playing slot? There's no Avonte Maddox right now.
Yeah. This is by far the number one need in the football team is corner. We expect them by training camp to add a minimum of 2 outside corners. Yes, they need a nickel. There are a ton of nickels out there. It's the deepest position of free agency that on my Excel file, I've got 14 slot corners. Now, some of those guys could play inside or outside, and there's a reason, again, why these guys are unsigned. And as you said, Avonte Maddox is still out there. They haven't closed the book on him. Obviously, he would get paid a lot less. And Gardner Johnson will most likely see some time when they go to their nickel package inside. He can do it, but he's going to play more safety. So you got Slay. This could be very well his last season with the Eagles. Bradbury, certainly this will be his last season with the Eagles if somehow he's on the roster. He's on the roster for now is the way we're looking at it. They don't have a top backup. They do like Eli Ricks, but he's certainly not a starter. For the future, Josh, past this season, none of the think about it. In 2025, they may not have a starter on the roster right now, cornerback. And yes, we're only on March 19th, and they have a ton of work to do. But this is a position for the future that's completely unknown, and they have to address it.
Another position they need to address, Adam, finally at safety. Yeah, C.J. Gardner-Johnson, great to bring him back. But aside from him and Reed Blankenship, who else is playing safety? Because Sidney Brown, he may not be ready for the start of the season, right?
Yeah, with the ACL, even if he is, he's certainly not going to be his normal self coming back from it. So Reed Blankenship, if the Eagles had their druthers, he'd be a third safety. He's been a nice story of development in his third year. But, yeah, right now, Gardner-Johnson's the only sure thing at safety, and if the season started today, it would be Blankenship and Gardner-Johnson. But the future for 2025 would be Brown and Gardner-Johnson. They need to add now at least one more guy for training camp. I would expect them to add one. It doesn't have to be today or tomorrow. Yes, they have interest in Justin Simmons, but the word around the league was the money was an issue for him. He's made a ton of money, by the way. Good player. Obviously knows Vic Fangio. He played for him when Vic was the head coach of the Broncos. So we'll see. We reported about Justin Blackman, Blackman, the safety from the Colts, who's still out there. Kind of surprising. He's probably Julian Blackman is the best young safety that's out there, and he turns just 26. He's had a lot of injuries. That has a lot to do with it, Josh. He's been on IR for 2 out of his last 3 seasons. That's always a concern, but we know he's a talented guy. But overall, Josh, the offense is relatively set. The right guard is certainly up in the air, but defensively, it's all about the secondary and getting younger there.
Adam, okay, a couple more before we let you go. Offensive side of the ball, we know Kenny Pickett. He is now in the house. Jersey guy, grew up an Eagles fan. But how does this Jersey guy, growing up Eagles fan, quarterback fit into the current Eagles quarterback room?
All right, so he not only will it be the number 2 for this season, barring a fall-off. Now, you always have to look at that, and the money in his contract is not very much. All of his salary is guaranteed, but it's well under $3 million, so for each of the next 2 seasons. What he has to do is be rehabbed here from a functional football standpoint. He was so good in their offseason last year. I know talking to the Steelers, Josh, they were really excited about him. OTAs were great. Training camp, terrific. It looked like he was ready to be a breakout player. Even the preseason where they play their starters a lot, he looked good. Where it just seemed like, well, okay, this is it. He's going to finally do it. They had George Pickens, Deontay Johnson, Pat Frymouth, Calvin Austin. I talked to Calvin last summer at their training camp. And it just was an absolute nightmare. He struggled with that Matt Canada scheme. Canada was fired. He had high ankle surgery. He thought he was ready to play at the end of the season. They benched him. They kept him on the bench because Mason Rudolph was doing great. And he was not happy. He wanted out. He got out, and they moved him to Philly, this guy the Eagles are excited about. Pretty good athlete. Doesn't run as much as he did at Pitt. But now it's really up to Kellen Moore, the offensive coordinator, and Doug Nussmeier, especially. He's the quarterback's coach. Those are the guys who came from the Chargers. And they've got to get Pickett going here. Now, the good thing, as I'm told from people who've worked with Kellen Moore, Josh, really quarterback-friendly offense. It's a forward-thinking, fast-paced offense, and a lot of spread concepts, a lot of pre-snap movement of the tight ends, a lot of shifting with the tight ends. So this is a good offense for him to play in, and the hope here is, Josh, look, he's a young guy that he turns 26 in June. Let's see if they could get him going again. They're looking at this as a 2-year situation, not just a 1, but there's got to be patience here. He's got to be kind of rebuilt.
Adam Caplan at Caplan NFL on the Twitter X platform, Inside the Birds podcast, InsideTheBirds.com for all the latest on the Eagles. The Intel with Greg Cosell, that is available as well. Don't forget the YouTube channel. Just search Inside the Birds. Adam, appreciate you making some time today.
Thank you.